the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him nothing was made that was made.
For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the show. Had my mic turned off. Didn't even know I did it. Welcome. I'm Jake Johnson, and this is Untethered Live, and you're watching it right here on YouTube. No in and out. Just here. What's happening, everybody? Hey, Lizarine. Hey, Bubby Watts. Good to see you. Glad you could drop in. It's going to be awesome. I want you to prepare yourselves. Strap in. Put your seats in the upright position and the trays in the backs of the seats, and strap in with your seatbelt and prepare to have your mind blown. We're in the great book of Joshua tonight. Good stories. Good. It's a good book. I don't know what I'm thinking about. Anyway, how was your evening? How was your weekend? How did things go? Did you get in any trouble? Did you do anything wrong? Right? Did you help a friend out? Did you do a good deed? My cat is just chilling right next to me. All my cats are standing at the door waiting for me to come out to feed them. I tell them to want one paw and spit in the other one and see which one gets full the fastest. Tonight's episode is brought to you by this hot cup of coffee that's burning my lips right now. Good stuff. Calvinists tell you don't ever drink hot liquids. I ain't figured that one out yet. Don't know why. But we got some good stuff coming up tonight. Anyway, we started with crossing over the Jordan River with the Israelites and the river being stopped. We went to Jericho. We walked around Jericho for 7 days. And on the seventh day, the walls come tumbling down. And they took that city without a fight. And that's about where we left off, somewhere a little past that. And we're going to pick up. It is Joshua chapter 8, verse 15. So if you got your Bibles handy, crack them out and dust them off. And let's get to reading in a minute. Just chill out for just a minute. We'll wait and see who else shows up. I need 4 or 5 people before I get started. Lisa says, I got in absolutely no trouble this weekend. Well, that's a boring weekend, isn't it? Is there any way to know when you're live on Rumble? I can't find a way to turn notifications on when you're live. All right. I don't know about the phone thing. If a lot of you guys use your phones, and I don't know about that app. I have it, but I haven't used it yet. But on the website, if you go to rumble.com, there's a little follow button, and right beside it's a bell icon. You hit that bell icon and do it just like YouTube. Kevin Cox, what's up, brother? April, CJ, Cuz, good to see you. Who acts older? Who acts older, Kevin, April, or CJ? Probably going to go with CJ. Kevin says, hey, Bubby and Lizarine. April, good to see you, sweetheart. Much love to you. I had an eventful weekend. I had a flat tire. I was going over to my buddy's house to take care of him, my buddy that's in a wheelchair. I kind of take care of him when he needs me. He invited me to dinner, and I was headed that way. Going to spend the afternoon with him. And my tire blew out on my motorcycle. I was almost there. I was like a mile away. So I drove it with a flat tire all the way to his house, and I got it there. And he says, man, what are you going to do? I said, well, I guess I'm going to leave my bike here and walk home or call my sister maybe to come pick me up. The more I thought about it, I don't want to bother her. I looked at the bike, and it was flat, but it was about that far off the ground. Still had some meat on the bone. So I think I'm going to try to drive it home. So I said me a couple of prayers, And I got on it and I started driving and I could hold it up. It wasn't fishtailing like it usually does when it has a flat tire. And I made it all the way home, which is about 26 miles. So, at 30 miles an hour. But I got there. And now I've got a flat tire and I can't go anywhere. So, Monday, I might have to have my boss come get me. But that was a very eventful ride. I want you to know that the Lord had that bike upright, because normally if you're on a motorcycle, when a tire goes flat, you lose all stability and it'll spin right out from under you. When you hear the pop, pow, you got 3 seconds to stop, because that's about how much air is in the tire. And if the tire goes flat, you're going to crash. So, you don't want to ride a motorcycle with a flat tire. Never do that. I got lucky. I got blessed. Don't ever do that. If you ride, when your tire's flat, stay off the damn thing. But I got home, so that's all that matters. CJ is listening. Well, hello, CJ. April says, hey, Bubby and Lisa Reen, good to see ya. Tell CJ he is a monkey. Hey, CJ, you're a monkey. CJ's a little boy, by the way. April says, uh-oh, I'm glad you made it safe. Yeah, me too. It was kind of harrowing, but I got here. Bubby Watt says, I had to change the oil for my car, and I found out the air filter needed to be changed too, so I had an additional charge. I'm glad you're safe, Jake. Thank you, sir. Well, here's the thing. When I bought that Harley Davidson, I knew I was buying an expensive bike. I spent a lot of money on it. I also knew that it had a name, Harley Davidson, and that ain't why I bought it. I bought it because it's American made, and I should be able to fix it. It's cheap ride, $10 to fill it up, $11. So I decided when I bought that if anything broke on it, I'd fix it. Now, I'm not a mechanic. I'm an erudite. I'm an intellect. I think, I don't do. So I had to learn how to build, work on a Harley Davidson. So lots of videos and lots of trial and error, but anything that's broke on it since I've had it 6 years, I've replaced almost everything on the exterior, including the chain, the sprockets, the centrifugal clutch that's in there, the little wheel. I've changed the starter. I've taken the oil pan out. I've changed both front and back tires, brakes on both sides. All the exterior stuff. I've never got into the motor yet, but everything on the outside I've replaced, and I had to learn how to do it. So now I'm a expert at that Harley Davidson. So if you got a Heritage Softail, I can fix it. CJ yelled, he was not a monkey. Thanks. Monkey, 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 monkey. I own the microphone, so I say you're a monkey. But I think that's what you got to do there, Bubby Watts. Learn how to fix your machine. An oil change and an air filter ain't hard to do. It's a little greasy, but it ain't hard to do. If you want, I'll tell you how to do it. As if you don't already know, you probably sit there and watch the guy do it. But it'll save you a lot of money. All right. Absolutely, says Bubby Watts. Here's the quick rundown. The air filter is in the top. It's usually in a plastic case. You take the screws up, pop the top off, pull the air filter out, put a new one in, pop the top back on, and put the screws back in. That's pretty easy. It's a big box of some kind under your hood. The oil, you drive your car up on ramps. You got to get you a set of ramps or something you can drive your car up on that'll lift it up enough for you to get underneath it. Have an oil pan and a socket wrench, 9/16 more than likely. Usually is a 9/16 or a 5/8, one of those two. Get under there, and underneath there's the motor, and then there's the transmission behind it. If it's a front-wheel drive, the transmission's in the front, but the oil pan is still on the bottom of the motor. It's the lowest point of the motor. And in the back of it, there's a screw right on the bottom, a bolt sticking in the bottom of it. It's obvious. You can see it. The transmission has one too, so don't open that one. It's the first one. And you open that and drain the oil out into that pan, and then slowly slide that pan out once it's done and put the screw back in. Then you reach up with your hand and grab the oil filter, which is sticking off the side of the motor. It's a little round white cylinder, and unscrew it pull that off and throw it away. Put the new one in. When you put the new one in, get a little bit of the oil that's dripping off of it and run it around the ring of the filter and then screw it in and it'll seal it. Hand tight. Don't need a machine to put that on. Hand tight. And then you just pour your oil in the motor. 4.5 quarts if it's a big car, 4 quarts if it's a little car. And there you have it. Oil change. Done and done. Takes 20 minutes to do. Bubby Watts says, my mom's boyfriend's a mechanic, so I'm good. Okay, well, now you know. I'm not a mechanic either, but I do know how to change my own oil. He's not a monkey. He yelled at Kevin, ha ha ha. Hey, TL, what's up, buddy? Good to see you, my friend. Well, we're ready to get started. It's 8:11. We'll go to 8:12 and then we'll get started. Changing the oil on that motorcycle is a little bit more complicated, though, because it's very hard to get to. I'm still a newbie with cars and such. Yeah, but you'll get there. I'm just telling you, it's better for you to know how to change a tire, change the oil, you know, basic maintenance. It's better for you to know that because you might get in a situation where you can't get to a mechanic. You might be broke down on the side of the road, might run hot or something. You need to know how to put water in the car and, you know, that sort of thing. If you're that new at it. It's good for a man to know these things, especially if you got a girlfriend. Ain't nothing gets a girl hotter than you fixing her car for her. I promise you that. There's a few girls in here. Ask if you don't believe me. All right. Let's go down, shall we? Hello. We already got the book open. ATL says, hi, April. If you got your Bibles handy, crack them open to the great book of Joshua. Chapter 8, verse 15. That's where we left off. That's where we're picking up. Where did my chat go? I can't have 2 windows open at one time? Weird. Okay. I'll just have to read chat up there then. I'm having OBS issues. And Joshua and all Israel made as if they were beaten before them and fled by the way of the wilderness. Remember, we're in a battle now where they have called the people out and they're feigning to be a small army, but they've got a big army coming up from behind. So the front army runs a little bit, makes them chase them. And then they turn around when the big army gets behind them and they go in and meet in the middle. This is good war tactic. Joshua showing that he's a good general. It's his plan to do it this way. And all the people that were in Ai were called together to pursue after them. And they pursued after Joshua and were drawn away from the city. Uh-oh. Guess what happens when you leave your city without an army? And there was not a man left in Ai or Bethel that went not out after Israel. Everybody went out after him. They were sure they were going to beat him because they've already beat him once. And they left the city open and pursued after Israel. And the Lord said unto Joshua, stretch out the spear that is in thine hand towards Ai, for I will give it into thine hand. And Joshua stretched out his spear that he had in his hand towards the city, and the ambush arose quickly out of their place, the people from behind. And they ran as soon as he had stretched out his hand, and they entered into the city and took it, and hasted and set the city on fire. Well, there goes your city. Now you're out in the wilderness with no city to return to and surrounded by an army that's twice your size. Not a good look. And when the men of Ai looked behind them, they saw, and behold, the smoke of the city ascended up to heaven, and they had no power to flee this way or that way. And the people that fled to the wilderness turned back upon the pursuers. They turned around and met them head on with the army coming up from behind, and they smote them all. Very, very good tactics here, Joshua. And when Joshua and all Israel saw that the ambush had taken the city, and that the smoke of the city ascended, then they turned again and slew the men of Ai. and the other issued out of the city against them. So they were in the midst of Israel, some on this side and some on that side, and they smote them, so that they let none of them remain to escape. They got them all. Beat every one of them. Terrifying. And the king of Ai they took alive and brought him to Joshua. For it came to pass, when Israel had made an end of slaying all the inhabitants of Ai in the field, in the wilderness wherein they chased them, and when they had all fallen on the edge of the sword, until they were consumed, that all the Israelites returned unto Ai and smote it with the edge of the sword. There's nothing left. They burnt the city down, and they killed every bit of the inhabitants. They're gone, except for the king. What is he going to do with that guy, I wonder? Apologize, I'm a little stuffy today. And it was so that all that fell that day, both of men and women. What? Were there women in that battle? Or, wait a minute. I thought the Bible was a misogynist book. I thought it was against women having power. I thought it taught misogyny, patriarchy. Isn't that what everybody's saying today? What? In Joshua, in the Old Testament, there were women fighting in the battles and dying in the battles, which meant they held positions of power. They were warriors. Says it right here. Of all that fell that day, both of men and women, were 12,000, even all the men of Ai. All the men were killed. Some of the women were probably kept as, prizes. But there were women fighting in that battle. For Joshua drew not his hand back, wherewith he stretched out the spear until he had utterly destroyed all the inhabitants, like Moses in the original, when he held up the staff until the Red Sea was parted. Much like that, Joshua held up his staff until the city was beaten. It was a long time holding that staff up. He probably had somebody help him hold his arm up. But that staff, that holding the staff up, is symbolic of God working through you. So this happens a few times. Only the cattle and the spoil of the city Israel took for a prey unto themselves, according unto the word of the Lord, which he commanded Joshua. Now you remember this. The first time they went against Ai whipped their tails because God did not tell them to go. Joshua took upon himself to send some men out there, a small army that he thought was more than enough to take this little city, and they utterly whipped their tails. This time, God told them to go after letting them lose and showing them, you don't go into battle unless I tell you to. This time, he says you can take the spoils. The first time they didn't get a chance to. This time, God's going to deliver the city and reward you for doing what God says do. The first time, he just sat back and watched them as they went in, all arrogant like, and tried to take that city to no avail. But this time, God told them to go, so the battle was won already. Let that be a lesson to you. Always listen to what God tells you to do. And Joshua burnt Ai and made it a heap forever, even a desolation unto this day. Pardon me. And the king of Ai, he hanged on a tree until eventide. They hung him up. And as soon as the sun was down, Joshua commanded that they should take his carcass down from the tree and cast it at the entering of the gate of the city, and raise thereon a great heap of stones that remaineth unto this day, a big pillar at the gate of the city, under which is the dead body of the king. Then Joshua built an altar unto the Lord God of Israel on Mount Ebal, as Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded the children of Israel, as it is written in the book of the law of Moses, that book we just went through that meticulously lays out how sacrifices are to be done. There they are. And he's following God's commandments. An altar of whole stones, over which no man hath lifted upon any iron. And they offered thereon burnt offerings unto the Lord, and sacrificed peace offerings. And he wrote there upon the stones a copy of the law of Moses, which he wrote in the presence of the children of Israel, to prove that he knew the law. This is Joshua doing this. and all Israel watching would know that he knows the law. He's the guy we need to follow. They were all instructed to memorize it, by the way. Don't know if they ever succeeded in that. Obviously, they didn't, or Canaan would be a much different place today. And all Israel and their elders and officers and their judges stood on this side the ark. Stood on this side of the ark and on that side before the priests of the Levites, which bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord, as well the stranger, as he that was born among them, half of them over against Mount Gerizim, and half of them over against Mount Ebal, as Moses the servant of the Lord had commanded before, that they should bless the people of Israel, and so they did. Afterwards, he read all the words of the law, the blessings and the cursings, according to all that is written in the book of the law. Now, you remember that's the last couple of pages of the last book we were in, which would have been Deuteronomy, I think. Can't remember. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Deuteronomy. Anyway. The last 2 pages is about the blessings and the curses, right? It tells you everything that'll happen if you follow God's law, and it'll tell you everything that'll happen if you don't. And that's what Joshua's read to these people. There was not a word of all that Moses commanded, which Joshua read not before all the congregation of Israel. He recited every word that Moses told him in that tent just before he died, with the women and the little ones and the strangers that were conversant among them, or rather, they took their side. Like Rahab. Like Rahab. The supposed prostitute from Jericho, she was a stranger, and all her kinfolks were strangers in Israel, but they took their side. Other people did too. You got to understand, there was a lot of people living in Jericho, and they weren't all bad people. Just the people that ran Jericho were the bad people. And it came to pass, when all the kings which were on this side of the Jordan, in the hills and in the valleys, and in all the coasts of the great sea over against Lebanon, the Hittite and the Amorite and the Canaanite and the Perizzite and the Hivite and the Jebusite, that's where they came from, heard thereof, that they gathered themselves together to fight with Joshua and with Israel with one accord. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 armies against Israel at one time, working as a unit together to defeat them, because they're not about to give up Canaan easily. Understand that they have all heard about this God in Israel. In Egypt, and what he did there. They all heard the rumors. They heard about the Red Sea parting, and they know who the Israelites are, and they are coming. They are here. We need to do something now, because if we don't, it's going to be bad. A woman often fights at my house. I got her a gun, by the way, says Kevin. April says, "What are you talking about, Kevin? It's not even loaded, and I've never used it." Duh. Well, you need to use it. You need to learn how to use it and get out there and get some practice with it, because you're going to need it one day. Now, we got 7 armies coming up against Israel, which is a big army in itself, but it's small in comparison to 7. And when the inhabitants of Gibeon heard what Joshua had done unto Jericho and unto Ai, they did work willily. There's a word for you, willily. That means diligently, fast. They got it done. They did work quickly to get it done. This is an old English word, willily. And went and made as if they had been ambassadors, and took old sacks upon their asses, and wine bottles old and rent, and bound up, and old shoes, and clouded upon their feet, and garments of old upon them, and all the bread of their provisions was dry and moldy. They're faking as if they're bringing in goods to the city like ambassadors would, because they're trying to either get in or get out. We'll see what happens. And when they went to Joshua unto the camp at Gilgal, and said unto him and to the men of Israel, We be come from a far country. Now therefore make ye a league with us. Oh yeah? You wanna negotiate? Okay. Let's hear them out. This is the city of Gibeon. Let's see. Yeah. There's 7 armies coming. There's going to be a battle royale across this land. So the city of Gibeon is right in the middle of it all. So the people that run Gibeon came out like ambassadors. They loaded up their carts and they put disguises on so they could get through the city and come to Joshua to ask him, hey, let us make a league. Don't come destroy Gibeon, because we know what you're all about. We've heard the stories. We don't want to, we're not with them. And that's what they're saying. They're trying to negotiate freedom. Actually, it's a Luca, by the way. At the time I bought it for you, I was also loaded. It was also loaded. Oh, it's loaded, not Luca. Gotcha. It's actually loaded, April. Don't pull the trigger pointing it at anybody unless you check the chamber first. Pull the clip out, pull the hammer back, see if there's anything in the chamber, and then you can play with it. Terrifying me. And they went to Joshua unto the camp at Gilgal, and said unto him and unto the men of Israel, We be come from a far country. Now therefore make ye a league with us. And the men of Israel said unto the Hivites, Peradventure ye dwell among us. And how? Oh, by the way, these are the Hivites. These are the people from the town that army is coming from. One of those 7 armies. And they said unto Joshua, let me read that again. I kind of interrupted the flow of that. The men of Israel said unto the Hivites, Peradventure ye dwell among us. Let's say we let you stay here for a while. How shall we make a league with you? What do you want? Suppose you stay here for a while. Suppose you stay safe behind our lines. What is it that you're asking for? And they said unto Joshua, We are thy servants. And Joshua said unto them, Who are ye? And from whence come ye? That's a phrase that if you're a Mason, you'll recognize. And they said unto him, From a very far country thy servants are come because of the name of the Lord thy God. The Lord your God, thy God, not our God, thy God. Keep that in mind. For we have heard the fame of him, and all that he did in Egypt, and all that he did in the 2 kings of the Amorites that were beyond Jordan, to Sihon, king of Heshbon, and to Og, king of Bashan, which was at Ashtaroth. Ashtaroth is a place and a false deity, so keep that in mind. It's 2 different things. Sometimes they're talking about the place, sometimes they're talking about the god, lowercase g. Wherefore our elders and all the inhabitants of our country spake to us, saying, Take victuals with you for the journey, and go to meet them, and say unto them, We are your servants. Therefore now make ye a league with us. That is not true. That's a lie. No one told them to go. They chose to go. They covered themselves with a camouflage and put a bunch of moldy bread and shoes and stuff in the back of their wagon so they looked like they were coming to barter, you know. Nobody's checking to see if it's actually good stuff. It's all rotten. It's all moldy bread and old shoes and clothes and stuff. Think about it. They're trying to pull a fast one here. They still have not told Joshua they are the Hivites who are coming to get them. They might be spies. We don't know yet. Julie, welcome to the show. Just popping in to say hi and give a like. Love you guys. We love you too, Julie, and stick around. It's getting good. It's getting deep in here. This is our bread. We took hot for our provisions out of our houses on the day we came forth to go unto you. But now, behold, it is dry and moldy. It was dry and moldy when you left. That's a lie. That's lie number 3, by the way. And these bottles of wine which we filled were new, and behold, they be rent. And these are our garments, and our shoes are become old by reason of the very long journey. Sorry, buddy, you didn't come from that far away. And Joshua ain't no fool. Let's see how he handles it. And the men took of their victuals and asked not counsel at the mouth of the Lord. They didn't ask the Lord to bless this stuff. They didn't say anything that sounded Christian, though they claimed to be men of God. Notice that they said, thy God, not our God. And Joshua made peace with them and made a league with them, and to let them live. And the princes of the congregation sware unto them. And it came to pass at the end of 3 days after they had made a league with them that they heard that they were their neighbors. 3 days. Everybody's talking about them like their neighbors. And they that dwelt among them, they're part of the family. We've accepted all of them. Is this true? They lied their way into the camp. They got in. Joshua accepted them. See what happens. And the children of Israel smote them not, because the princes of the congregation had sworn unto them by the Lord God of Israel. And all the congregation murmured against the princes. Really? Well, the princes are the ones that accepted them in. I wonder why they did that. But all the princes said unto all the congregation, we have sworn unto them by the Lord God of Israel. Now therefore we may not touch them. This we will do to them. We will even let them live, lest wrath be upon us, because of the oath which we swear unto them. And the princes said unto them, let them live, but let them be hewers of wood and drawers of water unto all the congregation, as the princes had promised them. So they get to live, but they're kind of like slaves. They kind of do all the work. And Joshua called for them, and he spake unto them, saying, wherefore have ye beguiled us, saying, we are very far from you, when ye dwelled among us? Now therefore ye are cursed, and there shall none of you be freed from being bondsmen, being slaves, and hewers of wood and drawers of water for the house of my God. My God, not thy God, my God, he says. He ain't no fool. He knew exactly who they were when they showed up. He let them in, and then he captured them. He's going to let them live because he promised him he would, but they're not going to wish they were alive because he's going to work the dog mess out of them. And they answered Joshua and said, because it was certainly told thy servants how that the Lord thy God commanded his servant Moses to give you all this land, all the land, and to destroy all the inhabitants of the land from before you. Therefore we were sore afraid of our lives because of you, and have done this thing. Now they're giving an excuse as to why they lied to him, because he's called them out on it. He knows who they are. And now, behold, we are in thine hand. As it seemeth good and right unto thee to do unto us, do. And that's what Joshua's going to do. And he'll keep his word, just like he did in Jericho when he told Rahab that he would save her and her family if they put a red string in their window, that he would kill everybody but them. And he did. He saved them. Now they live there. And so do these people who came up looking to get in and get a little information, I think. But since they accepted them in, they made them servants. Smart move, Joshua. Don't let the spies leave. And Joshua made them that day hewers of wood and drawers of water for the congregation and for the altar of the Lord, even unto this day, in the place which he should choose. Now it came to pass, when Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, had heard how Joshua had taken Ai and had utterly destroyed it, as he had done to Jericho and her king, so he had done unto Ai and her king. Now to the inhabitants of Gibeon had made peace with Israel. The inhabitants of Gibeon had made peace with Israel, and were among them. And they feared greatly, because Gibeon was a great city, as one of the royal cities and because it was greater than Ai, and all the men thereof were mighty. Well, they might be mighty, but they are now servants of Joshua. So he's got an ally in the city of Gibeon, is what I'm saying. Wherefore Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, set unto Hoham, king of Hebron, and unto Piram, king of Jarmuth, and unto Japhiah, king of Lachish, and unto Debir, king of Eglon, saying, Come up unto me and help me, that we may smite Gibeon, for it hath made peace with Joshua and with the children of Israel. Well, I got news for you guys. It ain't going to be that easy. He's going to beat you. Therefore the 5 kings of the Amorites, the kings of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon, gathered themselves together and went up, and they all and all their hosts, and encamped before Gibeon, and made war against it. With one move, just by taking in a group of people, making them slaves, he has turned the 2 cities against themselves. Cities that he's going to take, Joshua. He don't have to fight them. They're fighting themselves. See how that works? Gibeon is on the list. Yeah, they made peace with him. He's not going to attack Gibeon, but all 5 of those kings are. So that city goes down, and Joshua don't have to lift a finger. And if they kill some of the kings, that's some of them missing. That ain't in the war coming. Pretty smart, using the weight of the enemy against him. This is art of war type stuff. And the men of Gibeon sent unto Joshua to the camp of Gilgal, saying, Slack not thy hand from thy servants. Come up to us quickly and save us and help us. For all the kings of the Amorites that dwell in the mountains are gathered together against us. So Joshua ascended from Gilgal, he and all the people of war with him, and all the mighty men of valor. These are not the same men that are mentioned earlier. There were giants in those days. They were the men of renown, and the men of old. That's not the same people as the mighty men of valor, so don't confuse the two. These are great warriors. And the Lord said unto Joshua, Fear them not, for I have delivered them into thine hand. There shall not a man of them stand before thee. No, they're going to beat themselves. You just have to watch. Simple. You're going to get the land. Joshua therefore came unto them suddenly and went up from Gilgal all night. And the Lord discomfited them before Israel, and slew them with a great slaughter at Gibeon, and chased them along the way that goeth up to Beth-horon, and smote them to Azekah, and unto Makkedah. That's Klingon. I can't say that word. There's some Klingon in the Bible, by the way. And it came to pass, as they fled from before Israel, and they were in the going down to the Beth-horon, and the Lord cast down great stones from heaven upon them unto Azekah, and they died. We're talking about an asteroid strike here. The same thing that happened in Sodom and Gomorrah happened here at Azekah. It's a smaller event, though. It's not as big as Sodom and Gomorrah. It's 2 great cities side by side, like across the plain from each other. And the whole lot of that, a whole place, it's a flat plain. It's like a prairie, kind of. And then on each side is a city. So it's quite a lot of land between the two that got struck with hail and fire and brimstone from heaven. This is different. This is just like an asteroid bombardment, a small one. Enough to destroy this city, Azekah, which was bigger than Gibeon, but only by a little bit. And they died. There were more which died with hailstones than they whom the children of Israel slew with the sword. So more people died from the asteroids and the hail than anybody died from the sword. A few people got killed with the sword, but most of them died because of this bombardment that God put on them. Then spake Joshua to the Lord in the day when the Lord delivered up the Amorites before the children of Israel. And he said in the sight of Israel, Sun, stand thou still upon Gibeon, and thou moon in the valley of Ajalon. He asked God to stop the sun because the battle is ongoing. They're about to defeat the Amorites. Amorites, by the way, are one of these sons of Anak who build. These Amorites are not human, which is why they're defeating them. There's 9 tribes: Amorites, Hittites, I can't remember all, Jebusites, Perizzites. There's 9 of them. Anyway, they're all sons of Anak, sons of the great ones, the ones that are of mighty men. Mighty, I can't remember the word. Anyway, the Greeks call them the Titans, by the way. It's the same group of people. These are offspring of them. And there's 9 tribes of them. These are not the fallen angels, but they're the children of the fallen angels. And not everybody, but they're ran by those people. So this phrase says, then spake Joshua unto the Lord in the day when the Lord delivered up the Amorites. So they're in the midst of the battle and the sun's going down. So they know it's going to be dark soon and they won't be able to finish the battle. So some will get away. If it gets dark, they'll be able to flee under the cover of night. And he said, in the sight of Israel. So everybody saw him talking to God. And he asked God, this is him asking God, sun, stand thou still upon Gibeon, and thou moon in the valley of Ajalon. And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed, until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Is not this written in the book of Jasher? Well, I don't know. We haven't read the book of Jasher, but we will, because that's the book Jesus would have read, Jasher. He didn't have the Bible when he was alive, right? He had some of it, but not all of it. Some of it was written after his death. So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven and hasted not to go down about a whole day. That's about 12 hours, by the way, a whole day. We're talking about daylight. So 12 hours more than the sun's already been up, it stayed up. How does that happen? There's only one way that can happen, and that's if the earth stops spinning for a minute. How can that be? Well, remember the asteroids that hit the city up earlier? Think about that. Just ponder on it. God sent asteroids to hit this city. Now, about the same time on the timeline, if you look at the timeline when Joshua was alive, I think it's something like 500 AD. I can't remember the exact date. You can look it up. It's not that hard to find. You can find a timeline with Joshua on it, and it'll tell you when this happened, right? About that same time in history, an asteroid hit the Yucatan Peninsula, about a 6-mile asteroid, the one that they claim killed all the dinosaurs, which it didn't, because Joshua was doing his thing and never felt it. He didn't have any idea that an asteroid hit on the other side of the world. But the asteroids that hit that city were from that asteroid breaking up when it came into the atmosphere. And so it kind of peppered the earth as it went around. The big one hit in the Yucatan, and little ones sprinkled across the world, and the last bit of it hit Azekah. That's how that happened. And imagine the power of a 6-mile in diameter asteroid striking the earth against its rotation. It's rotating this way to the east, and this come in from the west and hit the earth head on. Wha-pow! It would stop the earth. At very least, it would interrupt its rotation for just a moment, and then it would slowly grind back to a spin, right? If you don't believe that, take a top and spin it on the table and then poke it with your finger and see what happens to its rotation. See if it don't slow down for a minute before it speeds back up. That's what happened. That's why the sun stood still for 12 hours, because the earth slowed down for 12 hours. Is it not written in the book of Jasher? We will find out, to be continued. So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven and hasted not to go down about a whole day. Now, a whole day, a real whole day is 24 hours. But in this context, the Hebrew word, it's talking about a 12-hour period. Okay? So the sun was up for 12 hours, and then it stayed up for 12 more hours, which would make a 24-hour period. So there was a day in time, one day that was 48 hours. Think about that. And then the sun went back down. Now, did that interrupt the 7-day cycle? No, because even though the sun was up, it still went to be the next day. See what I'm saying? It just, the sun didn't go down, but the day changed over Monday to Tuesday or whatever day it was. So the 7-day cycle has never been broken, even though there was a period of time for about 48 hours that the earth stood still. We still had the cycle of the 7-day period, if that helps. And there was no day like that before it or after it, that the Lord hearkened unto the voice of man. For the Lord fought for Israel. Now, for all you people out there that watch Discovery Channel and listen to those people scream in terror about the next event of the big asteroid hitting the earth, they're calling God a liar, because God just said right there has never been a day since, and there's never a day before it that this happened. There was one big asteroid strike. All the asteroid stuff they're talking about in history happened on that day. Understand? As far as the destruction of something with asteroids, happened on that day. The other thing in Sodom and Gomorrah was a little different. That was not an asteroid. That was hailfire and brimstone coming down like the tail of a comet, more like. And there was a comet that has been circling this earth and was very close a few times. There's pictures of it all over ancient Greece and ancient Rome. You can find pictures of the harbinger of death, is what they call it. It's Halley's Comet is what it was. And it finally crashed into Jupiter in like the 90s. So the sun moves across our stationary, immovable earth. I'm just saying. I'm not disagreeing with you, honey. I'm just telling you the science behind what happened. The earth is immovable, but it does rotate. That's a fact. But it is immovable, and it is most likely a plane. I think the atmosphere is round, but I think the earth is a plane. But I've never been out there, so I can't agree with that or disagree with it. That's just me talking nonsense. Unless I take a rocket ship up into space and can see it with my eyes and say, yep, it's round, I don't believe it, because everything I've ever seen has been flat. So, to that, when people ask me that question, do you think the earth is, are you a flat earther? Well, as far as you're concerned, the earth is flat. That don't mean it is flat. That just means as far as you're concerned, it's flat, because you're never going to see any curve while you're walking. And contrary to popular belief, you're not going to see it while you're flying either. Some people say they've seen it. They're wrong. They have a concave window they're looking out of. How do I know that's true? Because I've been in an airplane and I saw it with my own eyes. But if you were outside the airplane, it would be a flat plane, period. How do I know that? Because the Earth is 25,000 miles in diameter at the equator. That's how big it is. If you put a ruler around the middle of it, which is a little bulged from the top and bottom. So it's not a circle. It's more like an egg. It's fatter in the middle than it is on top and bottom. So 25,000 miles around. That is 1 mile per 8 meters squared. That's the drop-off of the Earth's curve from a straight line. If you were to draw a straight line, the Earth curves at that degree. That's about 8 meters per mile. A meter is a little bit longer than a foot, if I'm not mistaken. Now, if you were in the ISS space station, right? Imagine a peach is the Earth. The tip of the fuzz of the peach is where the space station is in comparison to the Earth. It's right there, right? It's 400,000 miles up. It's not out of the atmosphere. The space station is in the atmosphere, but it's in the top layer of the atmosphere. There's another layer above them, and then there's space. Now, they're high enough that it's falling past the Earth, which means it never hits the Earth, which means it rotates around the Earth, right? That's where they're at. From the space station, you cannot see the curve of the Earth. If you think they can, take a basketball and touch your nose to it and tell me how much of that ball you can see. You'll see about 30% of it. The rest of the ball will be out of your vision. And that's how it works when you're looking at the earth. You would have to be on the moon to see all of one side of the earth, and you still wouldn't see the whole thing because it's round. The atmosphere is. So, I don't know. I mean, the only way you could see it is if you were in a spaceship way out by where the moon is and circled the earth. Then you could see every side of it. And then you'd have to go that way to see the top side and bottom side. So, God said that he put this earth in its place and it is unmovable. He put it on a pedestal, metaphorically speaking. There's no pedestal under the earth holding it up. And it ain't on the back of a turtle either. But it is not going anywhere. It's where it belongs, and everything else around it was built for it. The sun, all the planets, all the stars, as far out as the galaxies go, they're all for life to happen on this planet. So, in that sense, Galileo was wrong. Copernicus was right. Understand. It's not a geocentric. The sun doesn't rotate around the earth. The earth and the sun rotate around each other in a centrifugal movement, and all the planets rotate around that. So it's like a big it's like a big bicycle wheel, and the planets are little balls on the spokes as it goes out. All of that is to keep the earth safe, because asteroids that come into the solar system get pulled in by Jupiter or by the sun. They never reach us. We only get the little debris that comes off of those, which will not destroy the earth. And here's the line that says it. There has not been a day before that or after that, period. Or it's actually a comma. But the Lord hearkened unto the voice of man. He listened to man. For the Lord fought for Israel. That's why that happened. Because of the battle for Israel, to win this giant landmass and all of its people. God fought for them. So he used godly stuff to win the war. That's also going to happen again at Armageddon, but in a different way. He's not going to use the same tactics. And Joshua returned, and all Israel with him unto the camp of Gilgal, or at Gilgal, to Gilgal. But these 5 kings fled and hid themselves in a cave in Makkedah. That's Klingon word again. Makkedah. And it was told unto Joshua, saying, the 5 kings are found hid in the cave at Makkedah. And Joshua said, roll great stones upon the mouth of the cave and set the men by it for to keep them. He just imprisoned them in the cave they were hiding in. Beautiful. That's the five kings that came against him. They're all terrified now. And stay ye not, but pursue after your enemies, and smite the hindmost of them. Get the back row of the enemies. Don't worry about getting them all, just get the back row. Suffer them not to enter into their cities, for the Lord your God hath delivered them into your hand. Go get them. You're going to get them, and it's going to be fine. And it came to pass, when Joshua and the children of Israel had made an end of slaying them with a very great slaughter, till they were consumed, that the rest which remained of them entered into the fenced cities. So there's a few scragglers that made it to the cities, but most of the armies have been destroyed utterly. And all the people returned to the camp to Joshua in peace. None moved his tongue against any of the children of Israel. You know, those people that came from those cities to be part of them, they all came back to be with Israel. We're not going over there because we know what happened. We just saw that happen. The asteroids destroying that city and everything. And then the army just utterly getting wiped out. 5 armies by this ragtag group of people that look like desert dwellers, because that's what they are. They're nomads. They're not sleek, well-dressed men. These are hard-worked men, you know, dirty and ragged, tough-looking. Then Joshua said, open the mouth of the cave and bring out those 5 kings unto me out of the cave. And they did so, and brought forth those 5 kings unto him out of the cave, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, and the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon. And it came to pass when they brought out those kings unto Joshua. Who are they? The people that came from Gibeon, the Hittites, came to Joshua, and he made them slaves. And they said, this is good. We'll be slaves because we know what you're about to do. Those are the same people that rolled the stone away after they came back from the battle. They knew these 5 kings. So these kings would recognize them. They know they've been beat because their own people have enslaved them in this cave or captured them in this cave. And their own people are rolling the stone away and pulling them out to Joshua. Think about that. That's a big mind blow right there. They brought those kings out unto Joshua, that Joshua called for all the men of Israel, and said unto the captains of the men of war, which went with him, come near, put your feet upon the necks of these kings. And they came near and put their feet upon the necks of them. What do you think's about to happen? And Joshua said unto them, fear not, nor be dismayed. Be strong and of good courage. Do those words sound familiar to you? Jesus said that. Fear not, nor be dismayed, my children. Be of good courage and strong. For thus shall the Lord do to all your enemies against whom ye fight. And afterwards Joshua smote them. So while they were being held down by the foots of the captains, Joshua came along and probably beheaded them. And he slew them and hanged them on 5 trees as they were hanging upon the trees until evening. And it came to pass at that time of the going down of the sun that Joshua commanded that they took them down off the trees and cast them into the cave wherein they had been hid, and laid great stones on the cave's mouth, which remain unto this very day. Now think about that. There are some caves that have been found. Archaeologists have found them, and they were covered with stones, and they removed them and went in, and they found skeletons. But they'd never talk about who the skeletons were because they think they don't know. It says who they were right here. If you find a cave near Gibeon that's covered up with a stone, it's a good possibility that's the place, if there's 5 skeletons in it, where Joshua threw them kings. Pretty interesting stuff. I don't know that they found it, but I have seen archaeological digs in caves where they have found skeletons in this area. I don't know if it's the right area, though. And that day Joshua took Machadach and smote it with the edge of the sword, and the king thereof he utterly destroyed them, and all the souls that were therein. He let none remain. And he did to the king of Machadach as he did unto the king of Jericho. He killed them all, man, woman, child, and animal. Kill them all. Let nobody survive. They're all tainted. Then Joshua passed from Machadach and all Israel with him unto Libnah, and fought against Libnah. And the Lord delivered it also, and the king thereof, into the hand of Israel. And he smote it with the edge of the sword, and all the souls that were therein. And he let none in it remain, but did unto the king thereof as he did unto the king of Jericho. Same thing. And Joshua passed from Libnah, and all Israel with him, unto Lachish. This is on the list. We're going city by city. And encamped against it, and fought against it. And the Lord delivered Lachish into the hands of Israel, which took it on the 2nd day. It took them 2 days to take the city down. And smote it with the edge of the sword, and all the souls that were therein, according to all that he had done to Libnah. Then Horam, king of Gezer, came up to help Lachish, and Joshua smote him and his people. I mean, this guy's killing people left and right, Joshua. I mean, armies are coming like falling dominoes, or like rain, just coming from every direction. And he's just kill you, kill you, kill you. He's like a monster. He can't be stopped. He's amazing warrior. He's like all the movies, like 300. That guy just mows through all them people. That's what Joshua is literally doing right now. city after city after city. And then they bring help in. 5 armies come up against them. Kill them all. It doesn't matter. We're going to get it all. And if I can't win, God will throw rocks at you. You're going to lose. Simple as that. And from Lachish, Joshua passed unto Eglon, still on the list, going down the list of every city, and all Israel with him, and they encamped against it and fought against it, and they took it on that day. Eglon didn't stand a chance, and smote it. Remember, he's already killed their king. They're just sitting there with nothing to do. They don't even know what's happening. They just know a big army came in and killed everybody. Smote it with the edge of the sword, and all the souls that were therein he utterly destroyed that day, according to all that he had done to Lachish. And Joshua went up from Eglon, and all Israel with him, unto Hebron, and they fought against it, and they took it, and smote it with the edge of the sword, and the king thereof, and all the cities thereof, and all the souls that were therein. And he left none remaining according to all that had been done to Eglon, but destroyed it utterly, and all the souls that were therein. And Joshua returned all Israel with him to Debir, and fought against it, and he took it, and the king thereof, and all the cities thereof, and he smote them with the edge of the sword, and utterly destroyed all the souls that were therein. He left none remaining. I mean, bodies are just piling up. There's words in the Bible that talk about blood running in the streets up to your knees, like rivers of blood. That's how many people this guy killed. Over and over and over, city by city by city. He just slaughters everybody, fighters and simple people that are just in the city, because they're tainted too. They got blood on them, you know. They are part of this group of people that don't belong here. And Joshua killed them all. I imagine there were quite a lot of burning bodies back then. None left remaining, as he had done to Hebron, so he did to Debir and the king thereof, as he had done to Libnah and her king. So Joshua smote all the country of the hills, and of the south, and of the valley, the vale, and of the springs, and all their kings. He left none remaining, but he utterly destroyed all that breathed. That word breathed is the breath of God, all in which has the breath of life. He killed them all. If they breathe, he killed them. As the Lord God Israel commanded. That's God's command to kill all these people, not Joshua's. He is a servant. He is a weapon for God, which is why he was successful. You can't do what he did. You can't go and slaughter that many people. It's not even possible. Somebody will get you. Somebody's sword will get to you before you kill too many people, I promise. A gun, whatever. Joshua was protected by God. He was able to do it. And that's where we're going to stop today. We'll pick up next time. I done lost my place. Hang on. Yep, there it is. We'll pick up next time in 1041 when he goes to Kadesh Barnea. And we'll look up that word because it has a meaning. Man, what an intense read that was tonight. I hope that it touched your heart. I hope you learned something new. I hope you found reason to seek out and search for the Lord God Almighty. I hope that it brings you ever closer to his love and your understanding of what it is he's doing here and why. Put on that armor, the armor of righteousness. Put it on and live it, because you'll find that God is with you and that he will always take care of you. Now, just like he takes care of you, won't you take care of me? And listen to this. Hit that subscribe button and press the bell icon so you get notifications of when I'm going to be online. Smash that like button. It's right below you. It's free. It's effortless. And it really does help the channel with the algorithm and helps us get recommended to other people. It puts us on the map. So please hit that like button. Share this video with somebody you love. Better yet, share it with somebody you don't love. Bring them into the family. Make them part of the fold. Be part of their solutions, not part of their problems. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you're thinking about. Question me, curse me, bless me, challenge me, confront me, conform with me, drink my Kool-Aid, make your own Kool-Aid. Hey, as long as you're thinking critical, that's what I want. Critical thought coming from that brain of yours. And hey! If you love the Word of God and you can see the value in what I'm trying to build here and you'd like to be part of that, or if you feel led to send your tithes, offerings, or love offerings, or if you just like to pat me on the back and say, hey, good job, Jake, I see what you're doing here, you can do that. You can support my work by going to paypal.me/jakejohnsonband, or if you're a CashApp user, $JakeJohnsonBand. Every little bit helps. It's a win-win. It's a blessing to me and my soul. It's a blessing to you too, because God notices these things. As you see, we live in a reciprocal universe. If you give, you will receive. If you knock, the door will be opened. If you ask, you shall be answered. Those are Christ's words. It's true, and I prove it every day. So, I will take all your questions now and round out this video by being very available. All right. How did you like that? Did you like this read? I got to scroll up and see what I missed. All right. About the time transparency came in is when I stopped reading the chat. Blow that horn, says ATL. Honk, honk, says April. Kevin Cox says, a woman often fights at my house. I got her a gun, by the way. What are you talking about, Kevin? I didn't even load it. It's never even been used. Duh, says April. Kevin says, actually, it is loaded, by the way. At the time I bought it for you, it was also loaded. Loaded, not Luke. Got it. Julie, welcome to the show. Just popping in to say hi. Give a like, and I love you guys. Well, I love you too. Appreciate it. Kevin says, it will be a war like we have never seen before. That's right, sir. How many Levites does it take to change a light bulb? 4. Kevin says 2. One to change it and the other to hold up the rope that is attached to the one changing it. This is somewhere in Proverbs. Trust me, I am an attorney. Yeah, well, I'm an attorney too, and I'll challenge you any day of the week. Gotta go, Jake, says Bubby Watts. Gotta do something. Well, you're gonna miss a really good battle, so you need to come back and rewatch. But thank you for being here as long as you were. April says, Kevin, I don't know what you're talking about. Please don't interrupt Bible study. Thanks. Boy, you better listen to that woman. She's got a gun, remember, and it's loaded. Lisa Reen says, the sun moves across our stationary, immovable earth. I'm just saying. April says, amen. Lisa Reen says, the circle of the earth and the angels at 4 corners. I watch the stars go around us as they are the same stars all my life. With Polaris, the northern star, or the pole star, which is the one our galaxy wraps around. In other words, it's the center of the galaxy from our perspective, Polaris. And the northern point, as it says there, yes. And if you time-lapse the sky, you will notice that the stars are moving around you, not the other way around. That does mean that the Earth is spinning, though, by the way. But it's spinning in a place it's never moved from. We were not flying through the galaxy like science says, with the sun flying through the galaxy and all the planets chasing it. That's not true. Because if it were true, we wouldn't have the same sky 6 months from now that we have now. We wouldn't have the same sky a million years ago. If the Earth is millions and millions and millions of years old, we should be in a completely different place than they were when man first came on and started recording the stars, which were thousands of years ago. So for thousands of years, we've had the Big Dipper and the Southern Cross and all the constellations to make the zodiac. They're all up there. They're right there where they've always been, and that's where there always will be, because the Earth is not moving that way. It is spinning, but it's not moving, right? Wow, says April. Caucasian Sasquatch, what's up, my brother? That went longer than expected. Really? About the same as always. An hour. That's what I go for. Hello, Caucasian. Much love. Caucasian Sasquatch, says April. April says, he had the armor of God on, amen. Yes, he did. He had a hedge around him by God. God was holding him like this while he was fighting. I would bet money on it. Thanks, Jake. I enjoyed the read. I love you and all here. I have CJ with me. I'm about to be driving. I'll send love your way soon. Much love. God bless you, sweetheart. Thank you very much. I made him mad. He got off, I guess. No, he's still around. Kevin, say something. Nope. My guest spot went late. Oh, I got you. Yours went longer than expected. Okay, how did it go? Did you like it? Was it fun? Tell me about it. While I take a swallow of this Mountain Dew. If you're wondering why it's orange, this is a Mountain Dew red bottle that had a little bit of red in it, and I filled it up with regular Mountain Dew, which makes it orange. Because I reuse bottles, because I'm weird that way. I like having a lid. I don't like cans because you can't close them. I'm a obsessive compulsive. I have to have a lid. And if I drop this lid, everything stops until I find it. I don't care if I'm driving. I'll stop driving to find the lid. Why? I don't know. It's some kind of obsessive compulsive thing about spilling stuff, which I don't really care if I spill anything. I'll just step over it. But for some reason, it bothers me with a bottle, so I got to have a lid, which is why I reuse bottles. April says, yes, I want to hear it, Caucasian. LOL. I want to hear it, too. Caucasian. We did a complicated bit of YouTubery. It worked well. Pardon me. Is that all we're going to get? Me too, Jake. Me too. I forgot what we were talking about. Oh, the lid thing. Yeah. It's a lid thing. I don't know why. I'm weird, okay? I'm weird. I said it. There you go. I'm a weird guy. I don't shave, and I'm weird. And I smoke cigarettes on live TV. But I got to have a lid on my bottle. And these are very expensive compared to a 2-liter. It's actually the same price. I could buy this or a 2-liter for the same price. Smarter to buy the 2-liter, but they don't sell cold 2-liters. So I got to buy the 2 liters and put them in the refrigerator, wait till they're cold, and then pour them into these handy little bottles because I don't want to drink a 2-liter. I want to drink a 24-ounce. That seems weird, but there's logic behind the madness. 4 channels, 3 auditors, reaching to a particular audit with the creator on panel. Interesting. Well, I'm glad you had a good time, and I'm glad it worked for you, but that's not my thing. I don't like auditors. Sorry. I know there's a lot of them around you, and there's a lot of them around me, too. It's not my thing. It's your thing. I support you in it, but I don't want to do it. I don't like poking the bear because I've been bit by the bear a few times. So I don't poke the bear. Reacting, says Caucasian. Yep, reacting. Is that reacting or reacting? I got you. I said reaching, didn't I? 3 auditors reacting to a particular audit with the creator on panel. Gotcha. That makes more sense. Thank you. I can't see. The chat's tiny. It looks like white blurs. I got to really squint to read what it says. Blue blur, white blur. Blue blur, white blur. Bunch of hearts and smiley faces with herpes and thumbs up. Blue blur, white blur. So, if I didn't have my glasses on, I wouldn't even be able to see the screen. It would just be a big blur. I tried contacts, by the way, but look at my eyes. I have beady eyes. You can't get a contact in that eye without some pain involved. You got to stretch your eye wide open like that and poke yourself in the eye until it sticks. It's not fun. And then, every time you blink the wrong way, they pop out. Apparently, I have uneven eyes. They don't work like regular eyes. If I had straight, square, symmetrical eyes, I could put contacts in and do that. But I can't wear the contacts. I tried. I tried for a whole month. I bought a whole box of them and I went through all of them. It ain't my thing. I had sore eyes for a month, and then it just ain't worth it. And they weren't strong enough, by the way. I kept asking him to make them stronger, and he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't give me the strength I needed. So I just quit. Caucasian says, I just managed the scheduling and introductions. Otherwise, I'm comedy relief. You've always been comic relief. You are the oddball. I'm the straight man. You're the wacky sidekick. And it works when we do it that way. I didn't ask for that, by the way. It's not my call. You're way funnier than I am. But I'm way more serious than you are. Which is why we should do a show together at some point. What say you, Captain Caulk? Is that? 8 to 9? Usually go to 8 to 9:30, but we're at 9:16 and we've only got 3 people here. So say something. Questions, comments, criticisms, catharses, catalogs, crack-a-lackin'. Anything starting with a K or a C? I agree, it doesn't start with a K or a C, but I like it. I like where your head's at. Oh, I'll admit it, I'm no comedian. I try to be funny, but I'm not a comedian. Clark says, I'm down. Me too. I think it'd be fun. We've done it before. It's been fun. So you just name the time and place and I'll be there. We'll use your StreamYard. And we can talk about aliens and stuff if you want to. We get into the weeds. Talk about the flat earth. Get you a strike on YouTube. Have you had one of those little blue things pop up on your videos yet? It's a badge of honor. I got one. The one that says, this video is not in context. Read this for the real truth. I got that on a couple of videos, actually. Have you had one yet? Has anybody questioned your motives? April says, starts with an A. It starts with an I, actually. I'm not a comedian. I'm ... April says, ugh. How do you keep an idiot in suspense? Caucasian says, I'm not a comedian, but I play one on YouTube. Yup. You're very funny. You're naturally funny. I'm not naturally funny. I can be funny, but it's an act. I'm pushing it. I'm trying to be funny. You just are funny, right? I can't do that. I am stoic. All of this stuff you see on my face, it's all an act. This is me naturally. This is my expression. I'm smiling right now. So, I'm a misanthropic, stoic, erudite. That's the best way to describe it. Yes, Caucasian is hilarious. I live it, says April. I agree. And he's hilarious naturally, which is what you need to be a comedian. And for whatever reason, I wasn't blessed with it. I had to learn how to be funny. If you don't believe me, listen to some of my jokes. They're terrible. I tell jokes like 2 Jews walked into a bar, the other one ducked. What's the dirtiest joke you ever heard? White horse falls in a mud puddle. Check out Ginger Billy, LOL. I will. Although gingers don't have souls. You should know that. I'm ironically cynical. Yes, you are cynical. I'm more cynical, but you're cynical. I'm cynical to the point of absurdity. Like, I get sarcastic with it. You just are cynical. You're like a, what do you call those guys that doubt everything on magazines? There's a word for it. I just can't think of it. It's not critic. It's, like the guy that runs Snopes. Skeptic. That's the word I'm looking for. You're skeptical. I doubt everything. I'm not skeptical. I just don't think it happened. Or I think it happened differently than it's being told. I think victors of wars tell stories. I think that they have poetic license on that story to tell the best version of it for their point of view. I don't think it's ever actually what happened. Yes, skeptic. Thank you. My brain is frazzled. They're all in there. All the words are in there. I just can't find them sometimes. I guess it's a getting old thing. I know big words and the meanings of them in several languages. It gets confusing at times. You only have so much hard drive space, and then you got to start deleting other things to make room for the things you're putting in there. And sometimes you delete important shit when you don't realize it. You know, like your name. I have been asked my name and couldn't answer. I do know my name, but it wasn't pulled up to memory where I could just spit it out. Weird. I've noticed my Alex Jones is right. Jar seems full. Jar is full. You got to take some jelly beans out to put some more jelly beans in. Got to rotate them jelly beans. I'm in the rotation phase right now as we speak. Rotating knowledge. Forgetting a bunch of old shit, and I'm keeping in the new shit. Don't know how that's going to work out, but we'll see. I might forget my address or something, you know. But what I know is right, to the best of my knowledge. I'm definitely not trying to scam or lie to anybody. However, you may doubt some of the things I say, like the asteroid thing. That's obviously hyperbole. I don't know that that's the truth, but it makes sense, and it happened at about the same time, so it seems like it should be the right thing, right? That's logic talking. I don't know that that's how it happened. I wasn't there, but the Bible reports a thing, and other books report a thing, and they line up, and you're like, well, that's the same event, right? The Epic of Gilgamesh, Noah's flood. Same story, different perspective, different names. Same story. Came out at the same time. Both copies, both versions. Why? Because the flood happened and everybody saw it, and those who survived wrote about it. I had a very strange chat tonight. Sounds like a bad joke, says Caucasian. Well, tell us about it. While I ramble upon your ears. Ginger Billy. Didn't you know, April, that gingers don't have a soul? Ask any ginger, they'll tell you. It's also a racial slur, by the way. If you don't believe me, I'll spell it out for you. If you have an N and an I and a couple of G's and an ER, what do you got? Ginger. Think about it. An auditor, an officer, and an anti-audit YouTube channel were in chat together. You're just pulling all the people together, aren't you? You're a regular John the Baptist. You ought to bring them over here so they can get the education they need and go back and talk to you about it. Bring them to the school of Jake, the school of everything. This is, by the way, for lack of a better word, a college course on the Bible. It is an intense deep dive into the words, the meanings of them. And as we go, we'll get deeper and deeper. Notice how this time around I'm a lot more expressive on each verse. Whereas before I was just reading to get through it the first time around. We just read it cover to cover to get through it. We started by doing Old Testament on Sunday and New Testament on Monday so we could kind of go together with it until the New Testament ran out, and then we finished the Old Testament because the New Testament's a little shorter than the Old Testament. This time around, we're just going from cover to cover. But the first time, I just kind of read through it. I did explain some things, but for the most part, I was just reading. This time, I'm telling you what every verse means. Next time we go through it, you'll have all of that in your head. You'll know the story inside and out. Then we'll break down the words themselves in the Hebrew. And we'll show you what each word that's important means. Not every word, but we'll like when he said about a whole day, right? We'll break that word down in Hebrew, and I'll explain to you that it means about 12 hours because there's already been 12 hours of sunlight and the sun's going down. So he stops the sun at the end of the day, and it stays for another full 12 hours. So that's 48 hours. 12 hours of sunlight, 12 more hours of sunlight, and then darkness for the same amount of time. 48 hours, one whole day. It's the only day in recorded history that was 48 hours and not 24. But it didn't break the cycle because even though it was dark, they still changed to the next day. I can lead a horse to water. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And some of them will drink. Not all of them. You'll lose some of them. If you want to be a leader, that's entirely up to you. I'm not asking you to. I'm just telling you it's here if you want to take the initiative and bring some folks to it, which you've already done. You've already done that. You've already brought people here, and those people have brought people here. Lisa Reen is one of them. Jeannie is one of them. ATL is one of them. On and on and on. I've got some. You've brought some. And we'll keep growing if we can do that. And we can grow together. You already have surpassed me. So some of them can come over here. They'll catch both of them. That's entirely your call, though. And God might be calling you to do it. I don't know. Don't know. He called me to do it. You ask yourself that question. That's entirely your call. But it would be nice if we could work together and make things happen for both of us. It don't have to be that way. I'm still going to be here. April says, smiley face with herpes. That's what happens when you have a threesome with smiley faces. You end up with herpes. All right, boys and girls, we're reaching the top of the half-hour mark. That's 2 full hours. No, it's an hour and a half. Hour and a half. That's what I go for. 2 more minutes. Anybody got anything to say? Now's the time to say it. I hope you all have a great night. I love you with all my heart. I do. God bless you. God be with you. Thank you for being here and keeping the chat so interesting and so popping with information. I love it. Love every minute of it. I'll see you guys on Wednesday. I still got rehearsal on Monday night. Have a great night. I love you. Thanks for watching.